And I also think that dating is important.
Yeah.
Because you've got to try on some things to know what really fits. Because you might not have been able to appreciate Jonathan had you not dated Mr. Big.
That
right?
part.
So I dated some bigs.
You had some
right?
Mr. Biggs?
Not old, rich people, but the version of the person who just wasn't right. And I knew they weren't right. But because I had those experiences when Barack showed up, and there was, as you described it, this sort of calm, right? There wasn't this, there was just complete and total honesty and trust. This was a man who knew what he wanted. So there was none of the guessing games that I think we as women get used to playing and kind of enjoy it.
Yes.
Being with somebody where it's a total, I don't know if he likes me and maybe he'll call. And, we kind of sometimes get into that game and we mistake that game for love.
Yep.
But it's a game, and it's an uncomfortable game if we're honest with ourselves. Does he really like me? Did he call? I don't know what that meant. Nothing is straightforward. Everything is ambiguous. And I met somebody who was unambiguous and clear. And that feeling was new, but it was the right feeling to look for. You shouldn't have to wonder about your goals and visions with the person that's right for you. You should be able to have real clear conversations up front and say, this is who I am, take it or leave it. Who are you?
Yeah.
Do you believe in marriage? Do you want kids? Let's not play a guessing game.
Yep.
And I try to advise young women in my life not to play games in dating. Ask the questions you need to know and don't be embarrassed by it. Barack was that comfort zone for me. And it was very clear very early that he was different. And different is good. Different is not about games, because I didn't want to deal with somebody that I couldn't talk to, that I couldn't trust, that I didn't know what he thought, that wasn't a good communicator.
Yep.
And sometimes we look right over those people who are in front of us because we're drawn to the game.
Yeah. Woo! You're preaching.
Yeah.
So did you two speak about these things early on in your dating life? Did you ask, do you want kids? Did you ask, do you want to be married?
Yeah. And actually, Barack, when we first started dating, he was like, well, I'm not really sure if I believe in the institution of marriage.
Oh, he was one of those.
Yeah. And I was sort of like, really? Well, what's that for? And I didn't, it wasn't consistent with, who he was, but he would poke at that, right?
Yeah.
But he was also the person who asked me out, who said, we should date. I was very hesitant about dating because we worked at the same law firm. I was he's older than me, but I went to law school and was practicing. Like, he hates for me to say I was his mentor.
I was going to say it. You were his boss.
I wasn't his boss because I wasn't senior enough to give him assignments, but I was sort of helping him adjust. And I sort of thought, well, I shouldn't date the guy that I was assigned to help, right? I thought that'd be tacky, especially we were two of a few Black people in the firm.
Right.
We both went to Harvard. It just felt a little cliche.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be that associate, right?
Right.
But he was like, who cares? We got to know each other for the first month of the summer. And he was like, you're cute, you're smart, you're funny. Let's go on a date. I was like, no, we shouldn't go on a date. That doesn't seem right. But he was like,
he knew what he wanted.
He knew what he wanted, right? And he wasn't worried about the job or appearances. He was like, this makes sense to me. And you don't get that a lot.
That's romantic.
Guys, or I know I didn't get that a lot from guys.
No, same.
I mean, you're guessing for the first few months. And I was like, well, why am I drawn to that and not drawn to the truth, right? So I chose the truth with Barack. I chose to be with somebody who came to me on clear terms.
Yes.
And so as a result, that's how our relationship started. We were already friends, so we could have these conversations. And I knew he didn't mean the thing about marriage, but his proposal, which I didn't know was coming, goaded me into this argument about marriage. So Barack had studied and taken the bar, and we had been dating for all through his law school year. So it was about 2 years. So he took me out to a nice dinner, our favorite fancy restaurant in Chicago, under the guise of celebrating that he finished the bar. Little did I know that he had asked my parents, had gotten a ring. And so we're sitting at dinner. I'm thinking that it's a regular date. Midway through the entree, he starts talking about not believing in marriage again. And I was like,
don't tell me that's how he went into his proposal. No.
So he was winding me up. And of course, I was just not feeling it. So I just went off on him. And I was like, this isn't going to last. And if you don't believe in marriage, don't waste my time. And, and I don't understand. And I wouldn't have kids out of wedlock. We had this conversation. But he was just winding me up, and I think I was being wound up all through the entree.
What a way to get
and
to your heart.
And he was not arguing back. He was just sitting there with his finger on his temple, just letting me go. And then the waiter brought this tray with a silver tray and opened it up, and there was the ring. And I was like, what? You didn't just wind me up and he got down on one knee in the restaurant and asked me to marry him. So he loves to tell that story because he was like, that shut you up, didn't it?
I love it. Let's give him a round of applause.
Yay.
I love that so much. And I mean, so romantic. And the two of you you guys are goals. You know that. You're marriage goals.
Well, but that's why I'm always like, we have trouble too.
Yeah.
Because even when you have #couples goals, marriage is hard.
Yep.
And it takes work. And I love him dearly. And I want all couples to understand that marriage is work. And it's work every day. Being a parent is work.
Yeah.
As much as you want it.
Yeah.
Bringing children into the world, the ones you wanted, it'll be the hardest thing you will ever do because it's the most important thing that you will ever do.
Yeah.
And I don't want anybody to be blinded by that. So that's why I talk honestly about not just the highs, but about the challenges.
Yeah.
Because I think young couples give up too quickly when things get hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is hard. This is a hard thing to do, melding two lives together, which is why you got to be real clear in your choice.
Yep. Because even when they're the right committed man
and you're
aligned and you're in love,
and all of it.
It's all right. It's still hard.
That's right.
So why make it harder going into the relationship where you aren't on the same page about what you ultimately want?
That's exactly right.
So I'm curious. I want to ask you because it sounds like you were the driver in getting the answers to those questions in the dating phase. What gave you the confidence, though, to really put that question to him and to be willing to walk away if he was not in alignment with you?
I think like you, it was the other frogs, other relationships coming out going, why did I let that happen?
Yeah.
Why didn't I say more? Why wasn't I clearer? That's why I believe in dating.
Yeah.
Because you need practice. You're going to get some stuff wrong. You're going to, you need to grow up just trying some things on, and be okay with things failing. Be okay with getting your heart broken because you need to know that you can recover from that too.